To At the Table podcast with Innate Women. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Kallie Fischer. She is the owner and main chiropractor at Rise Family Chiropractic, or just Rise Family Chiropractic, in O'Fallon, Missouri. And she just won 2026 Gonstead Chiropractor of the Year, which is amazing.
Wow,
and she's a big leader in her community. And we're so grateful to have you here, Kallie.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks for introducing me. I'm Kallie. I am a second generation chiropractor, grew up in chiropractic, and took a really long path to thinking I was going to be a chiropractor and then going into sales and then deciding to come back to the career. So it's been a journey. I learned a lot along the way. When I came to chiro school, I decided to become a Gonstead chiropractor. It's the only technique that truly made a huge difference in my life and my health. And so I was mentored and taken care of by a great Gonstead chiropractor and started to get involved in that way. And now I help lead a seminar series within the Gonstead community. And I used to teach at Logan University for a period of time. And like Skylar said, now I own my own practice here in O'Fallon.
That's very exciting. Well, congratulations again on your award. I'm sure it's very deserving. When I saw that you were a second generation chiropractor, I also am a second generation chiropractor. And I want to know what your experience was like growing up in a chiropractic family, because It's not like normal and people don't realize that.
No, not normal. In fact, when I said I wanted to be a chiropractor, like since I was 3, I said I wanted to be a chiropractor. And people would ask me what that meant. Like I'd go to school and tell teachers I wanted to be a chiropractor and like, what's that? I was like, I don't know. I just want to help people. My dad helps people. I want to help people. So, it's definitely different. Was your father that was a chiropractor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He owned his own business too, I'm assuming, own practice?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, that's where my desire for wanting to own my own business came from. I mean, I worked for my dad for a while as well. You're just kind of the weird kid because you do things differently. And I'll point myself out. I used to actually adjust kids when I was in school in volleyball. People would lay on the floor and I'd push up on their spines and think I was doing them a great service. I was not. But I was like the weird kid that would pop people's spines. What was your experience like, Megan?
It was just, I didn't really realize because it was always alternative care first. So I think I only went to the doctor if one time I sliced my foot open and another time I fractured my foot. And those are the only times. But even then, it was like a family friend came over and stitched me up. And I was like, this is weird. But I didn't know it was weird till looking back. I thought everybody lived a holistic life. And then when I went to college and I realized you guys actually go to doctors normally and you don't have vitamins that you take regularly as kids. There's just all these things that you don't think much about, and then you're in it and you're like, oh, this is just this value system that I didn't know other people didn't have. I just thought we all were like that.
No, totally. I remember going to college. I played college volleyball. And all these kids were talking about getting they'd hurt themselves on the court and be like, oh yeah, I think I need to get surgery. And I'm like, why? Why would you want to get a surgery? I would never do that. And it was such a weird paradigm shift. And I'm like, that's your first thought? I'm like, my first thought is let's go get adjusted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And also I feel like it helped me stay injury free, even though I feel like I'm prone to injuries. I also played D3 volleyball. So how fun.
But as you guys are talking, what's funny is, so I'm the common denominator between you two. And I know I've talked about Megan to you, Kallie, and I know I've talked about Kallie to you, Megan. And now that you're both talking, I'm like, wow, you guys have a lot more in common than I even put together.
Yeah, it sounds like we do, which is exciting. You mentioned that it took you a while to go to chiropractic school. I didn't go back to chiropractic school until I was 30.
Okay.
So it took
what did you do before that?
A long path. I worked in the office and managed it and did all the other. I did everything else except for adjust. And then one day I was like, okay, this is horrible to say, but I actually struggled with chiropractors a lot growing up, when I had to work with them, because I felt they were just they didn't love it the way I loved it. And I was like, I am frustrated with you. And I don't like work. Male chiropractors of Gen X And I hate to say that because I know there's good ones out there, but like I found them so difficult and such elitist. And they, like, one person literally was like, you just don't understand because you're not a chiropractor, like chiropractic philosophy. And I was like, if I can't understand it, how do you expect your patients to? And they were like, oh, I don't know. And you're just like, I cannot, you know? And I do love millennial generation below because I feel like they're very team oriented. I feel like we all had to do group projects. And then I do like the really old generation because they're just like, I'm here to serve for my life. And I'm like, okay, I love that. But that was really hard. So
it's the one directly above us that is like the issue.
Yes,
oh my
they're
God.
awful.
Every one of them were just like very elitist. And I just don't vibe with that. So I was finally like, I guess I have to go to school because what else are we going to do here with these people?
That's awesome. That's so cool though, because like I still feel like that's true now as a chiropractor. Like I get mad with that generation as well. I talk about that often with my good girlfriend, but like I just feel like there's that loss, like that generation. There's a loss of the passion of chiropractic, and I'm like, what happened? What happened in your childhood?
What did happen with that generation?
I feel like this is getting very niche chiropractic, but I feel
Sorry.
like in our, like, if you look at the chiropractic professions, it's okay. I love it. You look at like the generation that I'm thinking of, Megan, and I think you're probably thinking of like the boomers and right before them was like these really like strong, like philosophically based chiropractors that had fire and like the light. And when you look at like the big, like, speakers and influential docs in our profession, they came from that generation. And then it was the one below, which you would think they would be the ones to take the torch, but I feel like they did nothing. They're like, we're just here to make a buck. And then there's us where we're like, let's revive it.
Yes. Well, to go with that, you know what I found is, I think because it was like, you know, you hear things like the Mercedes 80s. One of the general sentiments that I found is I feel like that group all were motivated to go into chiropractic for the money. They were like, oh, this person makes money ahead of me. And they don't understand if you're really passionate about something as chiropractic, you can make money. But if you're like in it for the right reasons, you actually will make a ton of money in clinic. You can do that. But if you're just in it for the money, you probably won't make a lot of money. And I think I worked with about 5 different doctors of that generation in our clinic because my dad passed away and we hired people, and every single one of them were male around the same age, and they all had the same sentiment of, I can't make money in chiropractic. And so they felt jaded. Like, I should be able to make money and I can't. And I feel like instead of evolving with the times and being like, okay, I can't do what the generation above did me, so let me figure out my own way, they were just like, it's just, you just can't. I think they feel duped in a way.
When we moved into our house here, I have a neighbor next door. He's in that generation, and you know, we introduced ourselves, and he's like, "What do you do?" And I said I was a chiropractor, and he said, "Oh, I'm a chiropractor too." And I was like, "Oh, where do you practice?" He's like, "Oh, I don't practice anymore. That stuff's for the birds." He's like, "I own a construction company now." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Sorry for your loss."
Yeah,
it made me
also, what
really
a weird
sad.
thing to say.
Yeah, super weird. And then I asked him why, and he's like, "This is what you guys were just talking about." He's like, "Well, the insurance doesn't pay anything." And I'm like, "Well, you're obviously weren't in it for the right reasons."
You know what I think it is? Also, our generation got slapped in the face like as soon as we were entering like adulthood with like the 2008 recession. So I feel like we always had a certain degree of humility of like, things are tough. We're going to have to work hard. We're going to really have to pull it up and do things maybe a little differently. And, you know, we had one thing after the other, obviously.
But I think that's made us the most resourceful generation.
Yeah.
I
And
feel
I
like
think
we can
compassionate.
figure everything out. I love our generation. And I always have
We're
to tell
lovely.
people, I think we're so wonderful because I know Skylar experienced this with me too, and Callie, you might have, but like when early in chiropractic, when this generation that I'm talking about was in leadership positions, they shit on us all the time. They were always like, millennials, I can't sell to millennials. And I was like, I'll tell you how to sell to us. We like experiences and people to be nice to us and like value us and not talk at us, but talk with us. And they were like, no, you don't understand. And I was like, I'm a millennial, I know. And they did not want to make any changes to adapt to us. They just hated our generation. And I'm like, we are the coolest people and so lovely. But we're very resourceful. resourceful. Like, we'll figure it out if we want to do it. And I love that about our generation.
We're just better.
Honestly.
Actually, I think you're, Callie, a very good example of this because I do think that you are a leader in your community. And I do think that you are very good at creating a community space. You're very active in your local, you don't do Better Business. You do.
We were in BNI for a little while, BNI and
Oh, yeah.
the chamber, and I'm in a women's entrepreneurship group too called Little Black Book.
But I feel like you do a good job at like actually involving people and connecting people and creating those like community connections that actually make a difference versus putting what you think would be best for you first. You're looking at the whole.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of how I grew up. I grew up in a really small town and everybody was involved in everything and everybody's stuff. And even like where we live now, St. Charles, I feel like is like a big small town. A lot of people know a lot of people. And so, I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to create that small town mentality within our practice. And, you know, we have community events all the time and I don't know, it's what I enjoy. It's what I love.
To get back to what is your journey? Because you said you had a little bit roundabout journey into becoming a chiropractor.
Yeah. Do you want me to share the long story or the cliff notes?
Oh, however you want to share it. We have time for it.
So, always wanted to be a chiropractor until I got to college. I think it was like 2012, I got in a motorcycle accident. And I came off a bike at 60 miles per hour. And knowing what I knew about the body, I was like, all right, I need to go see a chiropractor. I had like road rash, but didn't break any bone in my body. Had no internal bleeding. Like nothing was medically wrong with me outside of like road rash. And playing college volleyball at the time, I took some time off to heal. And when I went back to playing, I significantly hurt my low back. And knowing what I know now, I'm sure it was from the accident, just delayed swelling and inflammation of the discs. So started seeing chiropractors near the school I was going to, and they would adjust my low back and my legs would go completely numb. I couldn't get up off the table, and I was kind of just like, man, if this is what chiropractors are out here in the world doing, like, I don't know if I really want to do this to people. Knowing what I know
Did you
now,
see
they were
our
just really
faces?
bad chiropractors. Yes. But knowing what I know now, they probably just weren't
I
very
just can't believe
good.
you got a second adjustment.
Yeah, I went to 2 different people and the same thing happened.
I just can't believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but
So,
that's insane because if that happened to a patient, I'd be like, we got to do more there, you know?
yeah, we got to do something different. Yeah, they were doing a lot of just diversified and then some traction, like decompression on my spine. And I think I had just such significant swelling in my bottom 2 discs. Anyways, I ended up getting an MRI. They wanted to do surgery, but my dad was like, we're not doing that. And so glad I didn't. But quit volleyball because I couldn't play because my spine, and switched degrees because I was dating a guy at the time. And he's like, well, you don't really want to hurt people. And these guys were doing that to you. And I'm going to own my family business. So you should switch degrees and get a business degree so that we can own this business together. And I was like, okay, sure. Whatever you say. I want to get married one day. Dumb mistake.
To be young.
Don't listen to boys. Too young. I was only 20 at the time. So then I switched degrees of business, worked for his company, his family's company for a while, and we ended up breaking up my senior year in college. He broke up with me, and at the same time lost my job doing that because I worked at their family business and didn't know what I was going to do. So I found a job working in sales, and I did sales for the travel industry for a year and a half and hated being behind a computer, being stuck behind a phone, leaving voicemails and cold calls. It was just not for me. So I just had this weird thought. I'm like, I wonder what it takes to get to chiro school. I started my career that way. It can't be that far off. And so I had to take, I was a few hours short, And anyways, it's the long story of like not going to an accredited school and not having enough hours and just all this red tape. And they finally were like, you know what, you had good grades, your dad's an alumni, we're gonna bring you in on the probation. And they accepted me into the school, decided in February, moved in May, and started for try one right then and there. So it was made this decision in like December and moved it in May.
Wow.
Wow. That's awesome.
Kallie, did you like stop? Okay. You had your motorcycle accident, got adjustments that obviously weren't what your body needed. Did you just stop getting adjusted between that and then going to chiropractic school?
Yeah, when I moved back home when I quit volleyball, I switched schools too, just because I lost my scholarship and it was just going to be way too much. So I moved to a local school, and my dad would adjust me here and there, but I was living with this guy at the time, and so I was like not super close to home, and I didn't make it a priority. It was just a really weird phase in my life. Mm-hmm. But I kind of gave up on it.
What a transformation.
It is. Do you feel like the business degree has helped you now, though?
I think the sales portion, not so much the degree as like working in sales really helped. I think I did a lot of extra stuff. I did it's so silly now looking back, but like Toastmasters, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like a public speaking club. Yeah, you both heard of that. But doing stuff like that and just hearing no, like it sounds like a silly thing, but getting no is a good thing to learn from. And I did that a lot when I was working in sales, and I think that created a lot of resilience. And so I think that experience working there helped me more so than the business degree. And you learn the accounting and the things behind it, so I'd have like a base knowledge before opening my own. I also married a CPA, so that's my best business advice for Chiro students, is to marry an accountant.
Yeah, that's really good. A good accountant makes a big difference. We talk about that often.
We do.
So when you go into business, though, like, was it pretty easy transition? Like by the time you opened your own practice, like pretty seamless for you?
So I actually worked for someone for 4 years prior to opening my own, and it was a good experience. I learned a lot about what I liked, what I didn't like. I worked for my dad, like you. I worked in my dad's office for a few years before I went into that sales job, before I went to, it was probably for a year and a half before the sales position. And I think that helped a lot. Just a combination of the two, everything builds on itself. But working in that space, I kind of got a good view. Like, you don't know the small things behind the scenes that you have to do to own a business and be right with the law. But then going out on my own was one of the best things I ever did. Just the combination of all of it, I think, has made me successful. And just caring for people. I feel like business isn't hard, and that sounds kind of like boastful in a way, but I'm like, if you just care about what you do and helping people and like do the best that you can for people, they're going to take care of you too.
I like that you say that, but there are a lot of people in our field who struggle. What is it like? What advice would you give to them? If someone's like, well, I have my business and I feel like I care, but it's still hard. What would you say to them?
I agree, it can be hard and stressful. I guess my best advice, obviously they care about their patients well. I never thought I would hire a business coach, and that really made a big difference, I think, for me. Again, I've worked at an office, I've gone to business school, I have an accountant husband, like I have all these things. I think mindset gets in the way a lot, and like a limiting mindset. And just having an outside voice telling you like, hey, no, you're not crazy. This does suck, or this is hard, or what you're going through is true, but you're stronger than this. You're more resilient, like just having someone else giving you that advice that isn't in your head, because it's very easy to get caught up in the mundane and the stress and the crap of practice at the same time. I think that was a really big turning point for me, because I never thought I would do that.
What coach did you use? Was it a chiropractic specific business coach or just more
Yeah.
generalized business coach?
Yeah, he's Gonstead specific. His name's Brian Hukin. He owns Excelsior Business Academy.
Oh, I've heard of that. I've seen it around on the internet.
Oh, really? Cool.
Are you still
Yeah,
with them?
he. I've been with him since I opened my practice in 23, and we meet once a week, and he tells me I'm not crazy. I pay him to tell me I'm not crazy.
Yeah, you need that. That's really good to have. Yeah, because it just I think one thing like what I'm hearing from you is what most business owners experience is this isolation feeling. Like, am I the only one? It seems easy for everyone else. Am I the only one dealing with this hardship or this part? I love what I'm doing. This one part really sucks. Am I the only one experiencing that? Because it feels that way. Because nobody's putting it on the internet how hard things are. So having that person just to be like, no, you're not crazy, and everybody goes through it, really does make a difference.
Yeah, even like your good girlfriend. Like, I feel like you guys are really close. And I have one of my best friends, we talk on the phone literally every day. She's a chiropractor in Iowa, and we talk on the phone every single day. And it's not like formal or, whatever, but just offloading some of that anxiety and stress on each other. And again, being like, you're not crazy, this is normal.
And Skylar mentioned you're very good at building community. That seems to be really important, I think, for longevity in this field is that, countering the isolation that can happen as a business owner. How did you go about, how did you go about to build this community that you're in and have cultivated?
Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice I got when I was in chiro school is to like do the things that you love and the people will find you. So like if you love playing volleyball, play in rec leagues, meet people that way. If you're really involved in your church, get involved in your church. Like you meet people that way. Not that that's why you're going to church, but that's not why you're going to volleyball. It's just that's where you're going to meet your people and find people that are like-minded. And I thought that was great advice. My husband and I are very involved in our church. A lot of my patients, I think that's where the bulk of my patients started was just people in my church seeing me and then them referring people. We have a big family practice, so we have a lot of family events. I feel like around this area there are a lot of family things. Where I grew up there wasn't, but I'm like, man, if I were a mom, I would want to have a pool day that I can just take my kids to and hang out with other people that are in the same mindset and the same seasons of life. So we do a lot of that in our office. I just think it's important to just do what you love and be authentically you. And the people that need what you have and are attracted to who you are will naturally find you through all of it.
Yeah, that's excellent advice.
Thanks. You learn it sometimes the hard way, but I feel like someone else told me that once, so I had to step ahead.
You did. I mean, it is true because you're also more open to show up. And I always remember one of my big things I always remind myself is people do business with people they like. It's not even
Yes.
we always want to think it's their expertise and all these things, and those things matter. But ultimately, if people are like, I like this person, I'm gonna go work with them when they need you, and you're gonna be the person they go to.
Yeah, my dad told me when I was in chiropractic school, he's like, it's sad. The sad truth about our profession is you could suck at adjusting and people will see you because they love you. And I'm like, well, I hope that's not true about me. I hope I'm good at adjusting and they do like me.
Well, I like to think we have an obligation to be good at our craft and keep trying to be good at it. But it is true.
Agreed.
I mean, I think the biggest practices are those with people who are charismatic, likable, and understand, how to connect with people. Because if you can't do that, it does not matter how skillful you are, unfortunately.
Yeah. I can attest that Kallie is a great adjuster.
Yeah, because you're
Personal experience.
when you're the chiropractor to chiropractors.
I think that you touched on a lot of great things, Kallie, and I think nowadays we're really seeing a deterioration of this where people aren't leading their business with values and they're not leading business with customer experience of the face-to-face model. And everything has become so whitewashed, everything's become so disconnected that when you do come from a place of actual concern and connection, people just gobble it up.
Yeah, I think we're kind of, I think the tide is turning of people wanting to get away from social media and wanting to get away from like people are craving community. I really think that's true. And I think we're going to see a big change in the next few years of people like wanting to get dumb phones again and wanting to actually like have face-to-face interactions. I've always been that way. So I think people are just sick and tired of not having that true community.
And then I feel like AI is only speeding that up. So if you have a community, it's like beneficial for sure. Yeah, we could talk about AI. That's always wild.
That's a whole nother podcast.
It really is. I hear people like talk about if you're not using AI in your practice, and I'm just like, I hate companies that use AI.
I feel like for certain things it can be good. This morning, Anthropologie had a great sale. I accidentally bought 2 of the same dresses, but you can't return it when it's a sale on sale like that. And I was like, I need to contact someone because clearly it was a mistake. Who buys 2 of the exact same dresses? So I get on. My only option was to use a chat bot, or I had to like call, and I waited 45 minutes to get a real person because I was like, I need to talk to a real person because the chat bot can't help me. They can only tell me like, oh, your order's in. This is your order number. And finally, when I got a real person, they were lovely and very helpful. But I was like, it should not be the hard thing to get to a real person.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Or it's almost impossible. Even insurance companies, we have that issue in our practice right now. Like we can't get a hold of people from insurance companies to ask them questions on complicated cases. Which I think should be
even
illegal.
Our EHR system.
You know?
With
Even
insurance,
our
for
EHR
sure.
system. Yeah. We have issues with our EHR system every once in a while, and like anytime you try to reach out to them or like ask any questions, you can't get a hold of a dang person, and it's so frustrating. I'm like, I'm literally trying to work today, and I can't because your system's down.
I feel if we pay a lot, I would prefer you to like do a good job.
Yes, exactly. But there's a time and place for AI. I think we'll figure it out as it becomes more of a commonplace.
I want to hear a little bit about outside of the business. You also do mission trips, is that right?
I just got back from one. I've done some chiro mission trips.
Will you talk a little bit about that and how you got into that?
Yeah. So the first trip I ever did was in El Salvador. And if you asked me the name of the mission team, I couldn't even tell you. It was back when I was in chiro school. But that was a really cool experience. We kind of just like showed up in El Salvador with tables, and they put us on a street corner, and people just showed up and we adjusted them. And it was just amazing. Like,
that's
I
hilarious.
mean, you're still a student. Yeah, it was wild. I was just telling the story recently.
Corner?
There's like the two busiest roads in this tiny little El Salvadorian town, and people were just lined up. They had like those white plastic lawn chairs seated around, and then we set up our tables, and people just laid down, and they don't speak any English. You just adjust them, and they go on their way. It was insane. But I was actually just telling this story recently. We were there, and there's 2 schools that went, with people from Logan University and people from the Texas College. And we were on this corner, and this guy showed up. He couldn't even walk. He was like on a mat, and 4 people were carrying him to the corner that we were sitting at. And they were asking for help. One of the translators was telling us that he had gotten hit by one of the passenger vans. He was on a moped, and he got hit by one of these passenger vans, flew in the air, landed on the concrete, and he couldn't walk. And he just shows up to these little chiropractic students on the side of the road. And these Texas students are like, we don't know what to do. You know, I guess they teach diversified there. And there's only 2 Logan students at this particular site. It was me and one of my classmates. And they were like, you guys need to do Logan Basic because we can't adjust this guy. He can't walk. And my classmate was like, I don't want to touch this guy. And I'm like, we're not going to hurt him. Let's lay him down. Let's see what we can do. And I did a Logan basic adjustment on this guy, and he literally like got up off the table and walked away. It was like, if you don't believe in chiropractic,
Amazing.
that was the thing. That was the thing. You're like, okay, like I'm sold. let's do this. But that was probably my most
What a wild
miraculous
experience.
stories. Yeah, that was really cool. And then I've been to Mexico on a missions trip. That was through a Rotary Club out of Arkansas, of all places. I believe they're still doing that trip. It was kind of dwindling. It was right before COVID. I thought I was going to be stuck in Mexico because it was the March of 2020, and we were in Mexico for that trip, and everything shut down. And then,
Could have been bad.
oh, it was crazy. But we did, those ones were my Cairo trips. And then this last one I went on was in Africa. We just got back on Sunday. My husband and I went there to help at it's called Bethlehem Christian Academy. And they help children break the cycle of poverty. So these villages in Africa, if kids don't get educated, they just remain in this cycle of just no English, no education, no food. So they give them an education, they teach them about the gospel, they feed them lunch every day, and it's pretty amazing. It was such an amazing trip. I literally could talk about that for an hour, but it's just a whole different world in Africa, and I literally didn't want to come back.
What country were you in?
We were in Zambia. It's like South Central Africa. Yeah, pretty safe.
What did you do there?
So we held a vacation Bible study for the school, or vacation Bible school for the school. We did like Bible studies and arts, and like I was helping with the sports stuff, and we made sure they had their lunches and their food, and we walked the villages and talked to some of the village people and asked them how there are ways we could pray for them, support them. And then we've come back now. We're actually going to give a presentation at church on Sunday, and you just like get to know all these kids, and they're such an affectionate, joy-filled group of people, and they literally have nothing.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable. You were talking about community, like that's what I'm going to talk about on Sunday, is just like we had to teach them competition. Like we played a kickball game, and we had to teach them how to compete because they couldn't wrap their heads around it. Like,
It's just
like
like
you
we're
compete
born with
against
that
each
in
other?
America.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You're like competing on who walks first, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, they were just like all about, like you'd see high school aged boys walking around holding hands and just talking and hanging out, and like here it's like that would be unheard of. Like you'd get made fun of for doing that. Mm-hmm. So we just help support the community.
Yeah, that is amazing. It is. I do think it's a big lesson. I did study abroad in Ghana, Togo, and Benin, and so in West
cool.
Africa, and so I did find that really interesting when people talk about like happiness and then like how hard things are. And I'm like, people are gonna be happy. If you're a happy person, you're gonna find happiness no matter where you're at. And if you're not, it does not matter what you get. You're not going to be a happy person. Yeah, it takes work to become that if you're not. But it's not ever going to be like material things.
You're doing a study abroad there, you said?
I did study abroad there, yeah. And they were like,
Oh, cool.
so happy. And I'm not saying they didn't have hard things or have hard emotions. But I do sometimes feel like that's not as sensitive to be like, oh, they're just happy people. Like they're just running around being like, yay, life's all good. Like there's hardship, right? And you have the loss, you have these hard experiences, but they still find joy no matter what life looks like. And I think that's a huge lesson because it is ultimately a choice to have joy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you have future plans of doing more mission trips?
Yeah, our church is partnering with this group for the next 3 years. So through 2030, they're going to do Zambia. Our church does multiple. They do a Honduras trip. That would be a Cairo trip if I decided to go. That's in March. But the missionary there actually came to town to talk about what they're doing there. And she hurt herself traveling. And she was like, can you come see me? Or can I come see you? So I was like, of course, just stop in. We'll take care of you. And she was like, you have to come to Honduras. You have to come and take care of some of our missionaries. They have a special needs school and help with the kids there. So I have to decide whether or not I'm going to do that. But yeah, I would go. Like I literally, especially this last trip, like I don't even want to come back. Like I just want to stay. I want to serve. But then, you come back to real life and realize there's responsibilities.
Would you organize it for other chiropractors to go?
I would consider doing that, yeah, for sure. There's a group that does it. There was just a group that I know of, at least in the Gonstead world. There's a doctor that she's retired, has been retired, and she's created a group that goes, I think they go to Spain or somewhere like that. I'm like, it's not very, I mean, that's a pretty affluent country.
Very Western.
They also have a chiropractic school, I believe, in Spain.
In Spain?
There's a chiro school. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pretty sure there's a in Madrid, I believe. Because I've met other people that have gone over there. So, like, that's, I don't know if I would call that a mission trip. They have access to healthcare.
Yeah.
I feel like there used to be more mission trips and people that would do them. And I haven't, and I might just be out of it, so I could be, like, not as accurate. But I know, like, when I first started, because I went to Palmer, they used to have a mission trip, and they were like, no, we stopped doing that right before I went there, which I was a little disappointed in. But then I
feel like it was very, like, popular when I was in school.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Everyone
like...
went.
Yeah, and I feel like there also used to be different groups that would go as, like, you know, doctors that would go. And now a lot of them have, like, dwindled out. So, like, maybe this could be your next thing. You could take a whole group on a mission trip.
Maybe, yeah.
There you go,
I would
Kallie.
love to do that. I know, next endeavor, add another things. Add another thing.
That's how it always goes. One more thing, right?
Dude, when we were in Zambia, there was this guy, and he had the worst right hip, right ilium, and he could barely walk. And I wanted to be like, listen, man, I know you don't know me. You probably don't know English. Just lay down, or I'm going to help you. But I just felt out of place to do that without having some sort of, you know, explanation. And
what language do they speak there?
Most of the educated people speak English, but they have each in Zambia, there's different tribal languages. And so the workplace that we were at, they speak Bemba. It's called Bemba. Okay. I think it's a hard language. There's a lot of syllables. You'd be like, good afternoon, everyone. And the translator would be like, Mr. blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I literally just said good afternoon. I don't know how that was 27 syllables. So, but yeah, I love it. I could do it all over again. I'm sure that
is hard. Yeah. Do you pick up on languages easy?
I know Spanish remotely well, but I don't know if I'd pick up on anything other than that. I would consider going to like a Spanish-speaking country and doing a mission there because I could at least make sure we don't die.
Yeah, I bet it's always handy.
It's important.
Survival's important.
Usually step one in all of it.
Which in Honduras, they do speak Spanish, so.
There you go. Already halfway there.
Halfway there. That's a good idea, though, Megan. I would consider that. I'm sure my husband would love for me to be like, all right, I got another business idea. We're going to do mission trips now with chiropractors. You know what?
If you only do it like once a year and it's already set, and you probably only need to take like 15 to 30 people, if you put it on the groups, I bet you'd be sold out so fast.
People would jump at that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially early docs or even students. I mean, depending on the country you go to.
Yeah.
It could be anyone.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited for you to do this. We'll help sponsor you.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be so fun.
It would be super fun. I just like traveling and doing cool activities. It'd be so much fun.
Do you get to travel a lot, Megan? You own your dad's old practice?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love traveling, so it is set up in our schedule to do it. I know a lot of chiropractors are like, this is so hard. How do we ever get away? You schedule it. That's how you do it. And for longer trips, luckily Skylar has came out and covered. So like we went to China this past, when were we? May. June. And Skylar came out and covered for 2 weeks because she's pretty close with my family. So I felt like I was always, and your family's on the coast. So we're very, very grateful anytime she does that. And thankful for sure.
How is China? That's amazing. I would love to go to China.
Yeah, I recommend it. 10 out of 10. It's nothing. We definitely get propaganda over here, so it's not like, it's very hard to know what it's going to be like because one, like in the last 15 years, they've poured billions of dollars into infrastructure for the people to raise people out of poverty. So that was like their mission to do in 15 years. So everything's very new and everything's very clean. So we've literally like did incentives to change the culture. So trash now goes in trash cans, and there's people every morning cleaning. So everything's like the cleanest. It's like the cleanest country I've been to. And then probably the safest because it's a surveillance place. But also the people are just overall pretty nice. But still foreigners, depending on where you're at. Like it was when we went to a smaller town, people were definitely like, what's this Wagarin doing here? Which is foreigner and Chinese. And they were like, not as into me being around, but not like anti. It was just more like, this is interesting. But they just did a new visa. So I actually think that they're going to end up having a big like tourism boom is the next thing.
Nice. That's great.
Cool.
You travel a lot too, don't you, Skylar?
Not as much as we used to before the bug. Not like big trips, like like Megan going to China.
I still think you guys should do a big trip. I vote that you guys go to
Europe.
Europe.
We could do a big trip, but we could never go to China.
No. I don't think you should do China. I actually think you guys should do Europe.
For sure. It's
Cheaper
my husband.
flights.
I have to convince my husband.
I know. I'm telling you, cheaper flights than the U.S. flights, and then second, it's so kid friendly. They love children over there.
You know what's so funny is, Carrick, you both know, my husband's an engineer, very analytical. One of my biggest bones with him, besides the picky eating, Megan, or not as venturous eating, he takes so long to take in information. So I will mention things to him multiple times, and then he will come upon it from like an article or a video he saw, and he'll be like, Skylar, this thing, we should do it. And I'm like, oh, that thing I told you about 2 years ago? So yesterday he saw Paul Saladino went to Spain to do this in your phoresis, I forget what it's called, where they like take out your blood, they put it through a centrifuge, they clean it, and then they put it back in. It's supposed to take out heavy metals, pesticides, microplastics, or whatever. And he's like, we should do this. And I was like, well, I remember reading about Paul Saladino doing that before. I'm pretty sure I told you. But it's in Spain. And I was like, well, maybe, yeah, let's go to Spain.
You should do that. Plus, you already know so much about Spain.
Yeah, I got some peeps there.
Yeah. I hope you get to go to Spain.
Someday.
Just to do the blood cleaning.
Yeah, purely for the blood cleaning.
That's awesome.
Actually, it
Well,
was
this is the exact
fascinating.
same
You
way.
both would probably be very interested in it.
Remember that thing we did where it like pulled our blood out and ran it under a UV light?
Yes, I think it is like that, but
Just like the next level.
bigger. Yeah. You would do something like that, like the blood
Oh, heck yeah.
in your phoresis
yeah,
or whatever it's called. Yeah.
I will do anything. I'll try anything once. I'm the adventurous friend. I'll do anything, especially when it comes to like
Yeah, why not?
holistic stuff. Yeah. What's there to lose? It's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
What's some of the stuff you've tried?
Oh, gosh.
Have you done a coffee enema?
I've done worse than that. I've done.
Worse than a
I've done
coffee enema?
I've done a coffee colonic. Do you know what a colonic is?
Oh, I've always wanted to
That's
try
what-
colonics.
Okay, I've got a girl. She's very good.
Okay. Does it have to be with coffee?
So I went actually, so Skylar, you know a little bit about some of the health stuff I've been dealing with. I've been having this pitting edema in my ankles it's probably been 4 years now. I can't, something's wrong with my lymph system. And I saw this girl because she does the electromagnetic lymph, I don't call it a massage because it's not a massage, but it's like this wand and it moves your lymph systems. And so I went to her for that. And she was like, I know this is going to help, but it's kind of like putting the Band-Aid on it. Your lymph system is sluggish and we can help it. But the reason your lymphs are sluggish is because your liver, so we need to clear out the liver. The best way to do that is to do a colonic. And so she kind of had to talk me into it. And I was like, okay, let's try it, whatever. I'll try anything once. So it's a 3-step process. You do your first, it's 3 days within a week. And you do water first. So do the water colonic. It takes about an hour. And then the second is coffee plus. You do coffee twice, and then you do an aloe vera, and one other, chlorophyll. So aloe vera and chlorophyll. And then the third visit is then I get another coffee with an aloe vera and chlorophyll. So you're kind of like clearing it out with the water first, then breaking it down with the coffee, and then trying to heal it and build it back up with the chlorophyll and aloe vera.
Soothe it.
Yeah, help soothe it.
Did you notice a difference?
Dude, the swelling in my ankles was completely gone until I flew for Africa.
Of course. Let's book one. Let's book another session.
That's exciting that you found that to work.
I mean, you can make it as uncomfortable as you want to. I mean, this lady, she started off, she's very sweet. She started off and she goes, first, before we get started, I want to thank you for allowing me to take care of you in this way. I know this is a very intimate area. So thank you for trusting me. And I was like, okay, I'm in good hands, you know? So, I mean, it is. You're butt naked on a table. Not really, but from the waist down you are.
I was going to say, you have to get all the way naked? Okay.
No, just waist down.
All right, Skylar, you have to document this.
Okay, I'll do it. You know,
you should have social media on it.
I've been taking, I think I've told both of you, letrozole to hopefully try and get pregnant. And every month they make you do an ultrasound with it. And it's not like an ultrasound on your belly. It's a transvaginal ultrasound. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I would take a colonic over that any day.
It's intense.
Yeah.
All right, Kallie, I'm going to need the name of your lady.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
She told me, like, because she watches what comes out in a tube. Like, there's a clear tube where she can see what comes out. And she's like, I've watched parasites come out, like try to swim against the stream. I've seen gallstones come out. I've seen, like, she called it like this mossy.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Gosh. Can we get her on the podcast to talk about that?
Yes, you should.
I'm actually really serious.
I'm very interested.
Yeah. No, I find this interesting. This alternative, like, experiences. I have so many questions.
Okay. Well, I think what's cool is there's so many options. Like, Kallie, you said for 4 years you struggled with this pitting edema, your sluggish lymph, and like this, you saw great results. Whereas I'm sure a doctor would be like, drink some more water.
Yeah, do electrolytes.
Or they probably prescribe a medicine.
Yeah, right. To shut off the lymph system. It's crazy. I know, and I've tried everything.
I'm sure something like that.
It's the only thing that's helped us.
Do you even know why it's happening outside of just lymphatic dysfunction?
No. I mean, I've always had swollen lymph nodes. Even when I was a kid, I could feel my lymphs in my neck. My sister used to call me an alien because no one else in our family had them. But I have no idea. My dad always had swollen. He always wore compression socks when he worked because he got swollen feet. I'm sure he still does. But he never really, like, he's kind of a typical man. Like, meh, I'll put the socks on, let it go. That boomer age group of men, you know.
Yeah. He should maybe get that checked. Maybe he should try this with you next time.
That would be such an awkward conversation. Hey, Dad, you're going to get this tube that's stuck up your butt.
Yeah, you know, he might be open to it. It's going to help your swelling. You're going to love it.
He's like me, though. He's like, yeah, I'll try it. If there's not needles involved, he'll try it.
I'm with him on that. As long as there's not needles. That stresses me out so much.
Yeah, me too. I hate needles. Could never.
We are coming to an end of the podcast, though. What is some things you'd like to leave the listeners with?
I think we mentioned earlier, just taking care of people and loving people well. I live my life by that. If you can love people well, they're going to treat you well. And community is the best place to be. I mean, I talk about it all the time, even with my patients in my office, like, who's supporting you, who's in your circle, who do you have around you? If you're a chiropractic student, a doctor, like, anyone in any field, in any industry, parents, especially moms, like, find your people. Skylar's one of my people. And just, you know, find your people and lean on them when you need to. I think it's easy, like you said, to kind of get in our own little Chiro Island life, distracted by business, and it's easy to just let things fall off the wayside. So
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. And thank you so much for being on our podcast at the table.
yeah, thanks for having me.